Hi, everyone. This is Attorney Lillian with Lily Legal, and I help my clients get immigration status and reunify with their families using U.S. immigration laws. So, if you have any questions about immigration law or the topic I'm going to be talking about, feel free to reach out and you can schedule a consultation with me. And feel free to ask your questions live as well. And if you're watching this on a replay, feel free to ask your questions in the comments and I will get back to you. Or I might do a whole video responding to you. So feel free to do that as well. So we're going to get started. We're talking today about citizenship because one, I had a comment in my last video about this very specific topic, right? I have someone that asks specifically when they can apply for citizenship since they got their green card through a specific program. So I'm going to be answering that and giving you guys the information you need in order to one, know when you qualify to apply for citizenship and what the requirements are, because sometimes people forget that there are several requirements. So it's not the day that you get your green card that you can apply for citizenship. There are exceptions to that rule, and I will let you know what that exception is. So stick around, especially if you got your green card through the Liberian Green Card program that I have been talking about on this channel. If you got your green card through that, you might be able to apply for citizenship today. So even if you got your green card yesterday, you might be able to apply for citizenship today. So stick around, and if you have questions, remember you can always put that in the comments and I will respond to you live. Okay? So we're going to get started. The first thing you need, which goes without saying, but the first thing you need in order to apply for naturalization, which is the citizenship for people that are not U.S. born, right? So in order to apply for naturalization / citizenship, one, you need to have a green card, right? So that's the number one thing. You need to have a green card because that's the starting off point before you can apply for citizenship. So one, have a green card. Two, be at least 18 years old. Okay, because I've had people that their kids have a green card and they meet all the other requirements, but they're still 17. There's other options available, but if you can't really apply until you are 18. So just keep that in mind as you are planning on applying either for yourself or for a family member, is that you will need to meet that specific requirement. Okay. So the next thing you need to have is to have your green card for 5 years or 3 years if you got it through marriage. And this is one of those things that people always ask me about because it's a little confusing, right? It's a little confusing because you think, I have my green card, I should be able to apply for citizenship. Is it 5 years or 3 years? Because there's so much information out there about the 5 years versus 3 years that really confuses a lot of people. So let me clarify this for you. If you got your green card through marriage, so your spouse applies for you and your case is approved and you have a green card, you can apply for citizenship within 3 years of that approval, right? But if you did not get your green card through marriage, then you have to wait 5 years. So if a parent filed for you, if your child filed for you, you would have to wait the 5 years. So hopefully that clarifies that, because I know that is something that's always a confusion for people is, when can I actually, how long do I have to wait? Is it 5 years or is it 3 years? And when I say that, I mean 5 years from the date on your green card. So when you get your card, you will see it says residence since, not when it expires. Don't pay attention. It doesn't matter. It's when you became a resident. Whatever that date is, you add 5 years or 3 years if it was through marriage. So you add 5 years to that. For people that got their green card through the Liberian green card program, if that's how you got your green card, you're going to be adding 5 years to whatever that date that is. And whatever that date is when you can start applying for citizenship. So I hope that makes sense. So you are looking at the residence since, not anything else. That's what you're looking at, even if you got it through marriage or not. That's the date that you're looking at, and you're adding either 5 years or 3 years to that number, to that date. And that's when you can start applying for citizenship. And for people that got their green card through the Liberian Act, I will tell you that most of you will either have November 2014 as the date. And if that's your situation, that means you can apply for citizenship today. Again, even if your case was just approved yesterday, if you look at your residence since, you will see that the date on there is going to either be November 2014 or a date earlier than that, right? So depending on how far back you showed that you were in the US. So let's say you came into the US in 1995 and you were able to show to USCIS that you have been in the US since 1995 up until the day you filed. The date on your residence since will most likely be that 1995 date, not the 2014. So you are well overdue for citizenship at this point if you got it through that act. So that's something to really pay attention to. And I wanted to address that because that's the main question I got that prompted me to do this video, is someone that got their green card through the act asking when they can apply for citizenship. So again, if you are just joining me, I'm talking about citizenship, what you need to know, what the requirements are, and if you have any specific questions about citizenship or immigration law in general, please feel free to put it in the comments. And if you're watching on the replay, also feel free to put it in the comments and I will respond to you. Okay? So the next requirement, and this is one of the ones that's a sticking point for a lot of people, is the physical presence. How long do I have to be in the US? And I get this all the time. I get it all the time. Someone wants to go away to their home country for a year. I'm like, okay, but when do you want to apply for citizenship? That's always a conversation you should be having when you want to make that long-term trip without losing your green card. Because the longer you're outside of the US, the more you risk losing your green card. That's the bottom line. So I usually tell people, don't leave the US. If you leave, if you know you're going to be outside of the US for over 1 year, there's certain things you need to do to preserve your residency. There's certain applications you need to file in order to reserve your residency. It's not impossible for you to be outside of the US for over a year, but you need to plan ahead so that you don't have an issue coming back. So that's the main thing to really keep in mind if you're planning on being outside of the US for a long term. But let's say you got your green card, you never left the US, you don't plan on leaving the US, you need to show 30 months of physical presence. That's what you really need to show, is the 30 months of physical presence. So you show this by proving how many times you were outside of the US and how long those trips were. And they're looking at that 3 months within the 5 years. So if you're filing today, they're looking back 5 years. And if that's not what if you're thinking, oh, 5 years can be any period of time, no. It's 5 years from the date that you're filing. So if you were outside of the US for 4 years, you come back 1 year, you're not eligible to apply for citizenship at that specific time. You have to wait. I usually advise that you wait another 5 years before you try to apply, but you really need to pay attention to this, and you will be denied if you don't meet the 30 months requirement. And it's at the time you're filing. So if you meet the requirement after you file, they don't care. We can make arguments, of course, but it's really important that you meet this requirement before you even file your application so that you don't waste your money. Okay, so that's something to really keep in mind. And again, if you're just joining me, please feel free to ask questions in the comments if you have some. If not, then please continue to watch, and I will continue telling you about citizenship and the requirements you need to know about before you even start the process so that you avoid wasting your money and time. Okay, so the next one is good moral character. This is something that people can be denied for. It's basically up to the officer that's interviewing you to decide whether you have good moral character. So things that fall under this is if you have a criminal history, if you haven't paid your taxes and you don't have plans of paying your taxes, if you haven't filed your taxes since you got your green card, that's a no-no. Okay, you have to do that. If you have kids but you're not supporting them, so if you can't show that there's a child support order or that you're actually sending money for your kids, that's going to lead to a lack of good moral character finding. Okay, so again, the things you need to be aware of that could lead to this is criminal record, as small as it may be. Okay, criminal records, not paying your taxes, not filing your taxes, not paying for your kids. Those are the core things that would lead to a finding of you not having good moral character, and the officer can deny you just for that. You can meet all the other requirements, but if they feel that you are not a good person because you're not taking care of your kids, in their opinion, right, that's going to lead to you not being able to get your citizenship. So it's really important, if you're going to be applying for citizenship, to pay attention to these things, right? If you have a tax bill, right? Let's say you have a tax bill of $5,000 and you don't have the finances to pay the $5,000 all at once. Well, you can get on a payment plan with the IRS. And that shows that you have a good faith effort, that you're making a good faith effort to actually fix it. So that means you still have good moral character because you're taking accountability for owing the money and taking steps to pay it back. Okay, so those are ways that I work with my clients to make sure that they do not fall into this trap of good moral character. Okay, so the last thing you need to be aware of, which I touched on before, is that you have to make sure that you haven't abandoned your residency. That's really important because I've had people that leave the US for 4 years and were able to come in without anyone questioning why they were out for so long, without having to provide any documentation. And then I've had people that were put in secondary inspection that had to bring documentation and prove why they were outside of the US for so long. So if you're going to be outside of the US for more than a year, there's certain forms you need to file and have approved in order for you to be able to do that. And it's really important that you do it because you don't want that to be the reason you can't become a citizen. And you don't The main thing is you want to be able to come back to the US. If you're out of the US for, let's say, 10 years, and now your life has changed and you want to come back, the chances of you coming in through the, you know, coming in through the airport without any issues is lower. But it's not always impossible if you can show the reason you were out for 10 years, that it was impossible for you to come back, right? So I've had this happen where a client was sick and just could not travel. We were able to get doctor's notes, medical records, all of that to show. And when she came to the airport, they did put her in secondary inspection. And they did ask all these questions about why she was out, and she had to show the documentation. That's just how it works. But you need to be prepared for that if that's what you're going to do. If you were not put in secondary inspection and you now have to go through the process of applying for citizenship, just know on the citizenship application, that might come up. And when it does come up, you will still have to prove that you never abandoned your residency, that you still meant for the US to be your home, that you had a house, a job waiting for you, something, kids, bank account. Like, you really need to have something to show that you always plan for the US to be your home, other than, and then something happened that made it impossible for you to do that. And that's what you really need to be aware of when it comes to this, is that getting citizenship is one of the, at least for me as an immigration lawyer, those are great days for me. Yesterday, one of my clients got sworn in and became a citizen. It was a great day because that's what I live for. That's what I want for my clients. That's what I want for all of you. And in order for you to have your citizenship application approved and for you to be sworn in and get the benefits of being a citizen, which includes being able to travel and leave the US for 10 years and still be able to come back, right? If that's your situation and you want to have that ability to do that, then you need to pay attention to these rules. You need to make sure that you're meeting these requirements so that you can also enjoy the happiness and joy that my client had yesterday, which is him becoming a citizen and being able to do all the things that a citizen is able to do. All the rights and privileges of being a citizen, he's now able to have that. So, again, if you want to be a citizen, one, you have to have your green card. You must be 18 years or older, have had your green card for 5 years or 3 years if you got it through marriage, had physical presence for 30 months out of 5 years. This is a big one. Physical presence for 30 months out of 5 years. Good moral character. And you haven't abandoned your residency at any point since you got your green card. Those are the requirements that you need in order to apply for a green card. No, you already have a green card if you're applying for citizenship. Yes, in order for you to apply for citizenship, those are the requirements that you must meet. Okay? So, again, I'm going to go over this point one more time because I know it is confusing for a lot of people out there, and I want to make sure that you know when you qualify to apply for citizenship, right? Is it 5 years? Is it 3 years? Let me tell you, okay? So you get your green card. Just pull out, if you're watching, pull out your green card. Look at the residence since date. There's a date right there when you got when you first got your residency. Add 5 years to that date, or 3 years if you got your green card through marriage. And that's the date that you qualified to apply for citizenship. Okay? So if you got your green card in 2010, that's the date since. That means as of 2015, you qualify to apply for citizenship. And for, again, the people that got their green card through the Liberian Green Card Act, you, again, will have to look at that residence since date. It's not going to be the date that you actually got the card in the mail. Because for you, the way the law was set up, you get a benefit that other people don't. Your date, your residence since date is going to be backdated. It's going to be dated at least 2014, which means that you qualify to apply for citizenship today. So again, feel free to contact me if you are still confused on this. I try to make it as clear as possible. And if you have questions about any of the other requirements, feel free to contact me. We can schedule a time for a consultation. If you have a criminal record or any of the tax issues or child support issues that I talked about that could lead to your case being denied, feel free to contact me. We can try to find ways to make sure that that does not stop you from becoming a citizen. There's so many things out there that we can do to help you that I don't want you to automatically say that you don't qualify for citizenship just because you might have a criminal record. It might not be a record that would lead to you not being able to apply for citizenship, but it's something that we would need to discuss and figure out the game plan on getting you to a path of citizenship. And then the last two things you need to know is that one, you need to have some English proficiency. So you need to be able to speak, read, and write. Unless you meet certain exceptions, those are the things that you will need to know. And you need to pass the civics, which they just added more questions to. So you really need to study. And I do, for my clients, there are study guides that's provided, and I usually forward that to them once their application has been accepted by USCIS and we're waiting for an interview date. I usually send out the civics question packet for them to start studying, because it's a lot of questions and you don't know which questions they're going to ask you. It's really up to the officer. So I really ask my clients to study and try to remember as many of them as possible. And something, at least for me, that I know worked for my family is having the CD. Again, you can get the audio version. I know not a lot of people use CDs anymore, but you can actually download the audio where someone is basically going through the questions. And some people learn better that way than actually reading the questions. So that's something else that can help you become a citizen and pass the test. Okay? So if you have any questions about immigration, about citizenship, how to get it, about green cards, how to keep it, right, so that you don't lose it before you become a citizen, please feel free to reach out to me, and you can schedule a consultation with me, and I will help you figure out the best next steps for you. Okay, and if you found this video helpful, please do share it with your community and like the video. I really appreciate you. And again, if you have any questions, you can leave it in the comments. I will go back and respond to them. And I look forward to helping you and working with you on this page and basically giving you information, because I feel that in our community, in the immigrant community, there's not a lot of information out there, and I want to make sure that you are getting the best information, the most up-to-date information possible. So again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. And until next time, I will see you guys. Bye-bye.